million cases, reported cases and confirmed cases. But look at the figures today, around 100,000 plus globally, with the death total coming to 213,607. After crossing the 3 million mark, we have 938,779 people who have fought hard and won the battle against this deadly disease. So as we speak, currently there are 1.945 million people who are currently infected. Looking at 1.8 actually is the people who have mild symptoms and condition. But look at the red mark here. 56,000 are either on either serious or critical condition. Well, that is how the big picture looks. What about the countries? Last night, America was still leading with the number of total cases reported and, of course, total deaths, being a superpower. And, of course, I do remember China was leading before the ball changed court and went to Italy and Spain. Look at the figures. United States is leading with over 1 million reported and confirmed cases. Spain is a distant second with 232,128. Italy is third with over 200,000 cases. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom follow in that order. Actually, when we come to Africa, South Africa, Egypt and South Africa are leading the continent when it comes to the novel coronavirus. Of course, we have a whole bulletin talking about the coronavirus. Plus, of course, they say when it rains, it pours. And actually, in Kenya right now, the floods are actually causing a lot of panic. But I will be coming with this report, plus much, much more after the highlights.
Open pubs for business. Pubs remain closed until further notice. Only restaurants and eateries have been granted the window to reopen, but only after meeting the requisite standards, hygiene and safety.
The green light to open their business, but the Ministry of Health says restaurants to acquire new licenses for operations as the number of positive coronavirus cases in the country hit 374. Demanding transparency. Senate seeks an audit on the 40 billion shillings set aside to fight the coronavirus pandemic. And no respite yet. The Meteorological Department warns of possible floodings along the Nzoia Basin as hundreds are displaced in Tana River.
Lucy Mwaura is my co-pilot on the bottom right of your screen. Remember, we can keep this interactive. Hit me up at Ben Troy Njue at KBC Channel 1. Remember, we are live from the broadcasting house here in the county of Nairobi, plus on our various social media platforms, including our website, which is www.kbc.co.ke/live. Well, to begin us off, restaurants and eateries will now be required to apply for fresh permits, undergo inspection, and have their staff test negative for COVID-19 before they are allowed to begin operation. The government also requires restaurant proprietors to download Form A from the Ministry of Health website and fill it to ensure they comply with government's directives on combating the spread of COVID-19. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman also announced that 10 more people have been discharged from hospital, raising the total number of coronavirus recovery cases in the country to 124, with COVID-19 cases rising to 374 on Tuesday after 11 new infections were recorded. Our health reporter, Purity Musel, with that report.
The Ministry of Health has laid down stringent measures to be followed by restaurants that will be allowed to resume operations. Restaurants keen to bounce back to business must undergo thorough inspection to get special food permits and have their staff tested and cleared of coronavirus to resume business.
All food workers deployed to work in those restaurants must be tested and certified to be COVID-19 negative by a government-certified laboratory. The measure here is we do not want anyone who is COVID positive working in a restaurant and posing any risk either to his fellow workers or to those customers entering those premises.
Acting Director of Public Health, Colonel Dr. Francis Kuria, said restaurants will also require non-contact thermometers to be used on staff and patrons and bar entry to those whose temperature hit 37.5 degrees and above. Some of the measures include spacing seats and tables for social distancing. Restaurants must limit the number of customers to 4 people for every 10 square meters and space their tables at least 1.5 meters apart.
There may be challenges here in some restaurants or some eateries that don't have this kind of space, and they would have to put in arrangements by limiting the number of customers that enter your premises, because we cannot risk losing all the gains you have made by trying to open restaurants and you cannot obey the social distancing measures that we had put in place.
Meanwhile, 10 more people have been discharged from hospital, raising the total number of coronavirus recovery cases in the country to 124. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman also confirmed another 11 cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing total number to 374.
We have 11 new cases out of 589 samples tested in the last 24 hours. Our total number of COVID-19 positive cases now stand at 374. In today's cases, there are 2 children aged 3 years and the oldest is 75 years.
A total of 13 counties have been affected. Nairobi and Mombasa counties account for over 90% of COVID-19 cases in the country, with 241 and 97 cases respectively. Kilifi has 9 cases, Mandera 8, Kajiado 3, Kitui, Kwale, Nakuru and Siaya 2 cases each, with Homa Bay, Kakamega and Uasin Gishu counties having a case each. Meanwhile, patients at Tigoni Hospital in Kiambu County have been transferred to various health facilities at the county, as the facility will now act as an isolation center for COVID-19 patients.
We closed Tigoni Hospital, so we do not have patients there. We have been fumigating the hospital and doing a bit of repair, so that later this week we'll be installing some beds.
The government says it's trying to gradually open the economy by allowing restaurants to operate, and the level of containment of COVID-19 in the country will determine which other sectors should follow. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News at Afya House, Nairobi.
Now, it was some good news for the hospitality industry, of course, with stringent measures by the Ministry of Health when it comes to the catering industry. Let's have a look at what we have in the country as of now. We already have tested 18,581 cases. You do remember yesterday we were talking about 17,000, meaning the government has really stepped up its steps to know exactly how many people in the country have contracted the virus. Of course, we have 374 people who have been confirmed to have tested positive for COVID-19. We have 124 recoveries, which is a good number. If you do your maths, it's about a third of all the cases, and we still have, unfortunately, 14 deaths related to the same. This, of course, is from the Ministry of Health, just as Johns Hopkins University is being trusted around the globe for their varied and accurate information when it comes to actually the tests and the confirmed cases. Well, the coronavirus has shifted focus to the counties. Have a look. Homa Bay, we have 1 case, Kajiado 3, Kakamega 1, Kiambu 5. And something that is coming out clearly is that counties close to Nairobi, Kiambu, you've seen Kajiado, are actually reporting cases of COVID-19. Well, that is the situation in some of the counties. Kilifi at the coast and Mombasa, they are leading the coastal region. Kitui have 2 cases, Kwale 2. Mandera has 8 cases. Also, this is something to keep a close eye on. Well, we will be looking at how other counties are doing. Look at Mombasa, has reported 97 cases. Case in point is that Nairobi and Mombasa accounting for over 90% of the reported cases. Nairobi with 241, Nakuru 2, and Siaya has only 2 cases. And the government, of course, said that the coronavirus now has changed hands from Nairobi, Mombasa, and the 5 counties that have been cessed, and now they have gone to the counties. That's the outlook of how the counties are looking as of today. Remember, the Ministry of Health is the only mandated source and credible source of information, COVID information, in the country. Well, moving on, a number of restaurants have resumed their operation in Nairobi amid confusion on how to implement the stringent measures issued by the Ministry of Health to contain further spread of the coronavirus. A majority of staff and the establishment are yet to undergo the mandatory COVID-19 test, and Kenyans are too questioning the surveillance and modalities being proposed.
A day after the government announced the reopening of restaurants under tough regulations, business is slowly picking up, albeit with few clientele. In eateries like the Salehe Safari Hotel, customers were served from the comfort of their seat. At the Big Square, the staff were cautious on preparation and handling of food. At the Macday restaurant, customers would walk in for a takeaway, while others would opt to dine at the restaurant. This as confusion rages on social distancing directive and testing of staff at the restaurants before they embark on duty.
According to what we've been informed, the government will be doing random tests in the restaurants.
My only issue is the 30 minutes directive, because I don't think that's enough to have a meal and take a beer. They should maybe make it an hour or so.
I don't really agree with it totally, because there is no way you will control people. However, they come and trying to distance themselves and to try to avoid this. The fact remains they still socialize, and that interaction will still bring more problems of this COVID-19.
The eateries have put measures prescribed by the government to defeat the coronavirus pandemic.
First, what we need to make sure is, as a team, we have our own assessment form for health from our hygiene officer.
And buying goods from the supermarket or from the stores, we sanitize them with vinegars and what have you, and then we ensure our hygiene is high.
For many, the fear is the cost implication of the guidelines issued by the government. Concerns raised over the exorbitant medical fee required to undertake the tests should the government refuse to bear the burden. But the bold move is being lauded by many, including Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and those who depend on the establishments for a hot meal.
We feel relieved because we've been having problems when you come to town. You want to have a place you can sit, have a cup of tea. That has been a problematic.
In the US, they are struggling. They want to open restaurants. They want to open places. Because if they don't open, China, which confronted this thing first, is busy recovering.
The government's directive to reopen restaurants is a plus to business persons and a litmus test to the country at large. It is how hoteliers and clients would conduct themselves that would determine on whether the country would consider to reopen its economy further or put restrictions in combating COVID-19. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1 in the county of Nairobi.
Senators are now demanding accountability in the management of funds set aside to mitigate the effects of the coronavirus. The lawmakers argued that those mandated to handle the kitty must account for every single shilling. In the meantime, the senators claim Kenyans are yet to feel the impact of various mitigation measures put in place to fight COVID-19.
Senators say Kenyans are not satisfied with the government's response to the novel coronavirus outbreak that has affected the globe, and with close to 40 billion shillings having already allocated for use in intervention measures, senators are demanding prudent management of the funds.
We must be vigilant on the use of public resources. emergencies are some of the ways that many government agencies, or it's one of the ways that many government agencies use, Mr. Speaker, as an excuse to float, Mr. Speaker, procurement processes and end up, Mr. Speaker, cutting shortcuts and enriching individuals at the expense of the people.
Transparency and accountability is key to protect public funds during this time. The national and county legislatures should be alive to the fact that oversight on the executive must be undertaken as much as the calendar of the parliament has been affected.
Also giving the senator sleepless nights is the ripple effect of the deadly disease that has virtually crippled the Kenyan economy.
Mr. Speaker, there is hue and cry in every corner of this country, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of masks. Things as basic as masks. Masks are not available, Mr. Speaker. There are no tanks for people to wash their hands, Mr. Speaker. And yet people are being told that if you are found without a mask, it amounts to a crime and you could be jailed for it.
Part of the 40 billion shillings is expected to cushion the public against the economic downturns.
Mr. Speaker, the intentions of the government be good. Senator Mutahi Kagwe has been doing a fantastic job and everybody in Kenya is talking well of him. But that does not substitute the desire and the demand for accountability, especially when we are talking of now the risk of even freezing resources going to counties to help wananchi in their day-to-day life.
Meanwhile, senators recommend that Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe personally apologizes to the family of the late James Oyugi over the handling of his burial.
Mr. Speaker, we noted the apology to us as a committee doesn't suffice. He needs to directly contact the family because, unfortunately, we cannot redo that process. Number two, the ministry should roll out a robust program to train and create awareness amongst members of all the county health teams in all counties on the guidelines and protocols for handling the burial of a person who has died from coronavirus, to both ensure that this does not happen again and to address the stigma associated with coming into contact with or having a family member die from coronavirus.
The move by the Senate comes in the wake of an admission by the government that Oyugi's burial was not conducted in line with laid down guidelines and protocols of managing COVID-19. For Channel 1 News, I am Edward Kabasa.
Moving on, Deputy Inspector General of Police Noor Gabo has condemned the recent standoff between police officers and medical officers who wanted to cross the Blue Post roadblock in Thika. Gabo said investigations have been launched to unearth what might have transpired to cause the commotion between the two essential services providers.
Unakuja, tutapeana list, you identify against the list.
This was the situation on Monday at the Blue Post roadblock in Thika. Officers from the General Service Unit blocking medical officers from crossing despite being part of essential service providers, a matter which has prompted the National Police Service to start investigations into the matter.
Every incident will be investigated and we shall be able to ensure that we cooperate because the essential services, the police are all working under one umbrella to make sure that we save this country from the coronavirus.
Deputy Inspector General of Police Noor Gabo saying they will not accept Kenyans who are on the front line to combat the spread of the disease to be discriminated.
Doctors are very essential for the work and we have clearly given a guideline that they should be cleared so long as somebody is saving life, and we are here as police officers to save life and property.
Speaking when he assessed the daily operations at the Rironi roadblock on Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, Gabo reiterated that the police service will work in collaboration with other departments to curb the spread of COVID-19.
And we want to urge Kenyans that they are able to cooperate with the police in terms of fulfilling this guideline.
He either warned those who will try to cross the roadblocks without proper documentation that they will be deterred. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
At about 20 minutes past the hour, we are taking our first breather. But when we come back, more news. And I'll be telling you about some people who are very happy after the landlord decided, I'll take half the money. We'll be right back with those details plus much, much more.
Virusi vya korona vinazidi kuenea haraka kote ulimwenguni, na kwa sasa hakuna dawa au chanjo ya kuzuia. Husambaa wakati vijitone kutoka kwa mtu aliyeambukizwa vinaporuka akiongea, kukohoa au kupiga chafya. Vijitone hivi hutua kwenye sehemu ambazo mikono hushika na huwezi kuviona, lakini hata kama huvioni haimaanishi kuwa hakuna, na unaweza kuambukizwa unapogusa uso wako, pua, mdomo au macho. Ili kusaidia kuzuia kuenea kwa virusi hivi, sote tunahitajika kufanya mambo matano. 1. Fuata hatua hizi: kuosha mikono yako mara kwa mara na sabuni na maji kwa angalau sekunde 40. 2. Funika mdomo wako na kiwiko wakati wote unapokohoa au kupiga chafya. 3. Usishike uso wako. 4. Epuka sehemu zenye watu wengi. Weka umbali salama baina yako na wenzako. 5. Kaa nyumbani ukiweza, hasa ikiwa una dalili zozote za ugonjwa. Kwa maelezo zaidi tembelea www.who.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri Coast Maua na Kuru kwa locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Auta Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboksa pale go down. Karatina Auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Auta Githurai 45. Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Auta Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Fika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro.
Auta Gilgil live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive. Embo Thika Massive. Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda
Kisumu City.
Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to Africa.
Welcome back. In case you're joining us now, this is Channel 1 News Hour. Moving on, 39 tenants from Changamwe area in Mombasa will now pay half rent for unspecified period after their landlord decided to cut the total amount by 50%. According to the landlord, Ali Hemedi, the hard economic times witnessed across the country due to the COVID-19 pandemic has prompted him to come to that noble decision.
Residents at a 3-story rental house in Changamwe could not hide their joy after the landlord decided to waive almost half of the total amount of their rent. According to the landlord, Ali Hemedi, the philanthropic thought to reduce the rent was informed by the hassle his tenants were undergoing during these hard times of COVID-19 pandemic.
Sasa nikafikiria kibinadamu na Uislamu wangu, nikaona pangaji wangu wacha niwateremshie renti kutoka shilingi 3,600 nikatoa shilingi 1,600 kuwapunguzia, nikabakisha 2,000 ya list ya kulipa maji na taa, kwa sababu nikiangalia ni wapangaji nimekaa nao muda mrefu, hawa ndo kama ndugu zangu, siwezi nikawatupa kulingana na hii shida ya corona.
And further a good news to the tenants from their landlord.
Basi nimetoa huo muda kutoka mwezi wa 5, tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu atusaidie ili janga liweze kutopuka. Likitopuka tutashukuru, likiendelea bado tutashikana kama ndugu.
The 39 tenants applauded their landlord, praising his move to reduce their rent.
Nafurahia na shukuru kwa vile alitupunguzia rent mwezi. Amesimama na sisi na tunafurahia kwa hiyo. Na kama kuna wapangaji wengine ambao hawajapunguziwa, tuomba pia landlords wao waweze kuwapunguzia.
Nashukuru sana vile ametupunguzia rent. Amefanya jambo la maana sana. Maana hali iko ngumu sana. Vile amefanya jambo la maana sana. Tunashukuru Mungu amzidishie maisha.
For Channel 1 News Hour from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
Quite a noble gesture. Well, moving on, the coronavirus pandemic has shifted much focus on preventive intervention, with even the World Health Organization recommending hand washing, staying at home when sick, and of course, exercising social distance. But with majority of the world population now connected to their mobile telephone handset, tonight on Fact Sheet, we tell you when and how to clean your phone to keep the virus on check.
Phone is supposed to be cleaned or decontaminated using certain types of chemicals which are recommended. The first recommended one is what we call ethanol. The second one is isopropyl alcohol. The third one is hydrogen peroxide. And the fourth one is sodium hypochlorite, which we normally use for disinfection of surfaces. And the recommended ratio of constitution of this hydrogen, of this sodium hypochlorite could be 0.05 for the surfaces, and that could apply to our phones as well. So after that, you need a piece of cloth, and the recommended one are those lens cloths that is used to clean our glasses. That would be the best for those who have them. But for those who do not have them, then it is recommended that you use a sterile piece of cloth. Like mine here is very sterile, and I'll pick it. And for now, I have what we call the alcohol-based hand rub, which is actually carrying that alcohol. I talked of the first one. So I'll put a drop, 1 or 2, and then I need to carefully go back to the phone, and before I pick the phone, I need to check and make sure that the controls, all the openings, I do not touch with these chemicals. And the first process is to switch off the phone. So you will switch off the phone because we are dealing with electromagnetic materials. Chemicals are also reactive in nature, so that could cause other problems. So after switching it off, then you need to take your sanitizer. Of course, my alcohol is on this sanitizer, and just gently rub the surfaces properly well, taking care not to introduce the chemical into the open areas. Do it thoroughly. All the edges of the phone is supposed to be sanitized properly well, and then the back, taking care still not to introduce the alcohol hand rub into the inner side of the phone, because it can also make your phone to switch off. Once I do that, we are warning that you should not put it so much that it leaves moisture. So you just do it enough that is able to sanitize, to make sure that the virus, if it was on the phone, is dealt with appropriately. Then after that, you are free to use your phone.
Indeed, something to be keen about, bearing in mind that we are always on our phones. Well, to some showers of blessings now, the Kenya Meteorological Department has issued a notice of high flood risk indicators at Nzoia River Basin and Ruamba Bridge. Moderate rainfall is expected over the basin during the next 24 hours. The stream flow forecast in the next 48 hours indicates that the average water level at Ruamba is likely to exceed 5.62 meters. This therefore means there is high risk of flooding within the forecast period from the 28th of April, which is today, to the 30th of April. Meanwhile, transport between the Tana River and Garissa counties has been paralyzed after a key road linking the two regions was completely cut off by floods at Dukanotu area.
The Kenya Meteorological Department has warned of a possibility of heavy flooding in areas around Nzoia River, among them Budalangi in Busia County. The weatherman is cautioning motorists that Ruamba Bridge at the Nzoia River might flood in the next few days following the ongoing heavy rains in the western part of the country. The weatherman further predicts heavy rains in most parts of the country, with strong winds expected over eastern and northern counties. Heavy rains creating havoc in Tana River and Garissa after River Tana broke its banks. The floods have literally cut off two counties, with the movement of people and goods greatly hampered. 8 Dukanotu area stranded passengers have spent almost a week following the development. Currently, over 30 heavy commercial vehicles carrying goods are stuck on both sides of the road for the past 1 week, after the road became completely impassable. So far, there is no movement in and out of Ohola to Madogo, forcing people to cross the flooded road on foot, while trucks with food, fruits and other essential products are stranded, not knowing the next move.
Gari yangu ilikuwa imebeba maembe. Sasa na imeoza hiyo maembe yote imeozea juu, hata mwenye maembe sasa hata anaenda hasara.
Kila wakati mvua inaponyesha lazima tutalala masiku kadhaa kwa hii barabara. Kwa nini serikali sione na ikachukua hatua ya kutengeneza, kwa sababu wengi wamepata hasara, wafanya biashara wa watermelon, wenye magari pia wamepata hasara.
Kenya Red Cross officials are on the ground to ascertain the magnitude of the situation.
Tumeweza kupata kwamba njia imekatika, na kwa siku ya 3 leo usafiri umekuwa ni shida. Kwa hiyo kuna gari ambao walikuwa wamebeba maembe, wamebeba watermelon, na pia kina mama ambao walikuwa wanavuka hapa wameshindwa kupita.
In NAROK, the Nkare-Nkosor bridge that was swept away by floods will be opened following completion of repair works by the Kenya National Highway Authority's engineers. Kenha officials visited the area to see the ongoing repairs.
Picture now.
In Nairobi, over 100 flood-affected families will benefit from food donation, courtesy of Faraja Foundation. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnusu.
And at least 20 families in NAROK County face displacement following the appearance of deep fault lines on a 650-acre piece of land. Several parts of NAROK East have been affected by the cracks that leave huge gullies, causing panic among the locals.
The 650-acre piece of land here in NAROK East has been home to about 20 families from Kikuyan and Lelongo area. But due to the heavy countrywide downpour, the land is experiencing a new phenomenon that has left residents and local leaders in panic. Some parts of the earth have sunk, creating huge gullies and new underground waterways, posing a danger to dwellers here.
Tunaona maji ambayo inapita underground ambayo hatujaiona kwa miaka mingi.
NAROK East Acting Deputy County Commissioner Okumu Olo confirmed that on Tuesday 4 families were displaced after their houses were swept away.
Tumeona karibu ekari 650 upande wa Lelongo ya chakula imeharibika. Watu wengi wameathirika.
The waters from uphill evidently submerging farms downhill as it emerges that residents may have degraded the land.
Janga kama hili linafanyika kwa sababu sisi wenyewe tuliamua kukula ama kulima karibu na mito zetu, na tukalima mito zetu, na sasa kwa sababu ya ongezeko wa maji na mvua imetuadhiri hivi. Maji inatuonyesha ya kwamba hizi sehemu zote ambazo hazikuwa ziwa ama zilikuwa mto mbeleni zilikuwa mto.
And as the rains continue to pound, leaders in the area say the occurrence may be a disaster in waiting, urging the remaining families to move to safer grounds. NAROK East Member of Parliament Ken Kiloku is calling on experts to intervene in unraveling the theory behind and sensitize the residents to avert any eventualities.
Wale geologists ambao watafuata hapa mpaka Mosiro ama pali maji inaelekea, kwa sababu sisi tumeshangazwa sana. Maji ambayo ukiangalia unafikiria ni Thompson Fall ambayo inaenda chini na hatujui pali inaelekea, na watu wamejenga hii eneo yote mpaka Mosiro, then we are in great danger.
NAROK County is one of the counties prone to sudden sinking of earth. Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
The corridors of justice now in the High Court has temporarily barred the government from interfering with the Sonko rescue team in its effort to distribute free sanitizing boots and other protective materials used in the fight against COVID-19. The NGO associated with Nairobi County Governor Mike Mbuvi Kioko Sonko moved to court to challenge the orders by Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe to remove the sanitizing booths in the Nairobi CBD last Tuesday. Nairobi County Governor Mike Sonko, through his NGO Sonko Rescue Team, had moved to court seeking orders stopping the government from halting its operations of installing sanitizing booths at various bus termini, in addition to distributing free masks and sanitizers. Through his lawyer, Harrison Kenyanjui, Sonko argues that he was merely to supplement the national government's effort of mitigating effects of the novel coronavirus pandemic. He further claims Sonko Rescue Team incurred a loss of 5 million shillings since each booth was installed at a cost of 400,000 shillings. 4 sanitizing booths were brought down, and the court has ordered the 4 remaining booths to remain in place pending determination of the case. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe and his Interior counterpart Fred Matiang'i have been named as respondents in the case. Moving on, a 36-year-old woman is nursing serious injuries at the Nakuru hospital after she was allegedly beaten by her husband following a domestic dispute. In Kakamega, police have launched investigations into circumstances that led to the fatal shooting of a 27-year-old man allegedly by the Kenya Forest Service guards manning Kakamega Forest.
Joseph Munyiri, a former Nakuru deputy mayor who is currently in police custody, is alleged to have physically assaulted his wife over claims of undermining his authority before his friends. Joyce Wangui suffered serious facial, ear, and dental injuries and is currently undergoing treatment at the Nakuru Medihill Hospital. Wangui says before the incident, the husband had stormed a shop in the area and sold a television set to a friend without her approval, a move that triggered the dispute.
Sasa venye mimi nilifunga kazi jioni, nikaenda nyumbani nikamkuta ameningojea. Akaniambia sitamoibisha town, anaweza uza anything as long as he's the man of the house, akona right ya kuuza anything. So hapo ndio vita ilitokea.
Meanwhile in Kakamega, police have launched investigations following the death of a man who was reportedly shot dead by Kenya Forest Service guards on Monday morning. Shinyali OCPD Robert Makau assured residents that action will be taken against the officers if they are found culpable. And police at Kasagami in Kisumu East Sub-County have arrested 6 notorious criminals and recovered several electronics worth thousands of shillings. Confirming the incident, Kisumu East Sub-County Commander James Musemi said the arrests followed a tip-off from members of the public raided a residential house at Manyata slum area. Items were recovered include crude weapons that were being used by suspects during robberies.
Where we happened to recover assortment of household goods and other shop goods, which we verily believe that they have been stolen. And as you can see here behind, we have a lot of electronics, and we have also some crude weapons, which are very dangerous when in the hands of criminals.
In Nairobi, police have recovered stolen goods of unknown value in Choka area Kayole Estate. Area OCPD Wilson Kosgei says the goods, including television sets and gas cylinders, were seized following a tip-off from the youth in the locality.
Of recent, tumekuwa na wizi hapa Choka, ufunjaji wa manyumba, ufunjaji wa maduka, any house that contains anything valuable. Vijana wamekuwa wakifunja na kuchukua vitu. So as we are talking, this is a quarter of what was stolen as per the inventory. So vitu vingi sana zimeibiwa.
And police in Kitale are investigating a fake fertilizer syndicate and complaints from a section of farmers who say they may have fallen victim. Undercover police officers raided one of the agrovets in Kitale town where a farmer had bought fake fertilizer which was mixed with stone particles.
Kuja kwa hii duka, nikanunua mbolea jana, nilipoenda jana kwa shamba ikanyesha, nikamsikia leo shamba nikapanda mahindi, nilipopanda mahindi nikafungua mbolea, nikasema nimwage kwa shamba, kufungua mbolea, iko na mamawe ndani. Nikarudi kwa hiyo duka, nikawaambia walibadilishia mbolea, wakakataa. Then nikachukua hatua, nikaenda kwa polisi nikaripoti, nimekuja kuangalia hiyo mbolea.
County Police Commander Ayub Gitonga said a sample of the fertilizer has been sent to the government laboratory for testing. Ben Chumba reporting for Channel 1 News.
And elsewhere, a section of elders in Anaimoy Sub-County, Kericho County, have performed rituals in a bid to seek a cure for the deadly COVID-19 disease. Elsewhere, Mathira Technical and Vocational College in Nyeri County has begun mass production of face masks to be distributed free of charge in the constituency. Details in our county news roundup.
A section of elders in Ainamoe congregated at Totiro River, Kericho County to perform the rituals to counter the spread of coronavirus. According to one of the elders, Johanna Langat, they decided to seek divine intervention so as that normalcy can resume.
Leo tumesanya yote
hiyo corona yote tumesanya kuweka kunia, tumetupa katika mtoni, maji inachukua mpaka parini. Tunajua kwamba kutoka leo, siku ya leo, Mungu alitusikia neno lake ya kuponya nchi yetu.
Staff of Kenya Rural Road Authority Kera Nairobi Region donated foodstuffs and sanitary towels worth 130,000 shillings for distribution to at least 250 underprivileged families in Nairobi County.
We have already identified 250 people from Mukuru Kayaba who are going to benefit from this.
In Kiambu County, over 500 households have benefited with foodstuffs from Babs Charity Foundation that was received by Kiambu Governor James Nyoro. The governor lauded the donors for stepping in the gap as the country battles with coronavirus pandemic.
We want to start with the informal settlements, and then as the donations are coming in, we'll be giving out increasingly. And once we are through with who we think are most vulnerable, we'll move to the next stage of the ones who are almost vulnerable.
Elsewhere, Mathira Technical and Vocational College in Nyeri County has begun mass production of face masks to be distributed free of charge in the constituency as a way of supplementing government's efforts in fighting the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mathira MP Rigathi Gachagua says the facility will be producing 5,000 face masks every day for distribution on daily basis.
Our people here have no money. The little that they have, they are using it for food. So I have come to intervene to produce 200,000 masks for the people of this area, including young children, to be distributed door to door.
And a report by the local children department in Trans Nzoia County has raised concerns over an increase in cases of gender-based violence and teenage pregnancy in the region. According to the report, cases of child abuse have skyrocketed as schools remain shut due to coronavirus pandemic.
Kama unakaa na majirani na uko na watoto wavulana na wasichana, wajue yafuatayo kulingana na Sexual Offences Act, kwamba mtu akilala na mtoto chini, akifanya mapenzi na mtoto chini ya miaka 12, kifungo ni maisha.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Suleiman, for that report. We are taking another short, quick break, but Jim B. Mureithi, you are watching from Blue Valley Estate. Thank you so much. We will be right back with business news.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days. Dial *719# or call 719. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Next on Corner.
I told him I would try and get them more fights. We can't afford to be picky when it comes to fights.
Haukutaka akuwe boxer. Sasa hutaki pia afanye hizo carvings zake.
It had to take an accident for me to finally get it. That boxing is dangerous.
Wachana na Anjala ashughulike na hayo. Yeye si mjinga. Look Wangui, don't take away his pride because of your issues.
Let's do business now, and we begin with the economy that grew at the rate of 5.4% in 2019, which is lower than the 6.3% registered in 2018 due to drought experienced in the first 6 months of the year, which dragged the agriculture sector. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani says even though all sectors of the economy, save for the services-oriented ones, registered slow growth in 2019, the economic expansion was across all sectors. And as Betty Kiptum narrates, the government projects a slower growth this year due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The economy slowed to 5.4% in 2019, down from 6.3% a year earlier as key sectors slumped. But service-oriented industries lifted performance. Among sectors that remained on a growth trajectory were the accommodation and food service activities that expanded by 10.3%, information and communication grew by 8.8%, and financial and insurance activities expanded by 6.6%.
Domestic credits grew by 7.5% in 2019 compared to a growth of 6.4% in 2019.
The gloomy side was led by manufacturing, which slowed by 3.2%, building and construction sector with gradual cessation of SGR construction saw it decline to 6.4%, and the agriculture sector, which slowed to 3.6%.
The decelerated growth was occasioned by the extreme weather phenomena characterized by drought during the first half of 2019, followed by high rainfall in the second half of the year that culminated in reduced production of selected crops. We are lucky that at least we both received rain, and within the most rural areas, we are likely to have good harvest, hoping that not be affected by locusts. So this may cushion that aspect of food sufficiency.
The gains made could be lost to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that has seen the Treasury insist that the projections that had been made for 2020 may not be achieved after all. Projections for the year 2020 remain grim, as the National Treasury projects economic performance will largely be dependent on how long the COVID-19 pandemic lasts. Despite this, Yatani expects depressed economic performance this year.
We are estimating at about 2.5%. but can go lower than that to 1.8 growth if the situation persists. Overall, factors against accelerated growth are likely to outweigh pro-growth aspects by far in 2020.
To shield the economy from further shocks, the government plans to unlock 70 billion shillings from the International Monetary Fund standby facility by mid-May.
Given the shock, we as members of IMF and World Bank were entitled to some relief through the special drawing right. And as a result of this, we are likely to unlock a standby facility to the extent of 75 billion Kenyan shilling. This will be, we hope that's going to be released to us by mid-next month.
Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
And about 846,000 jobs were added into the economy last year, despite a reduced economic growth. The informal sector contributed 90% of the total jobs in 2019 as key sector registered growth. However, unemployment rate in the country is projected to increase considerably this year as the economy grapples with effects of COVID-19 pandemic.
In its strategic plan, the government had hoped to create 6.5 million jobs by 2022, whereas the number of people in employment rising from 17 million in 2018 to 18.1 million in 2019, the government and analysts predict reduced job opportunities this year as COVID-19 effects take toll on key economic drivers. Buoyed by increased productivity due to long rains, agriculture accounted for at least 56% of the total labor force in 2019.
The sector, however, benefited from modest increase in production of potatoes, rice and wheat, as well as significant improved production of drought-resistant crops such as sorghum and millet in 2019.
However, the sector will experience massive job cuts this year due to reduced exports owing to COVID-19, coupled with locust and fall armyworm invasions.
Subsectors, these are some of the major sectors which are directly impacted. That being the case, we are looking at, because there is no investments, consumption is constrained and also people not traveling, we expect a broad-based sort of job losses.
The hospitality industry is not expected to fare any better as arrivals continue to dwindle, with some hotels forced to send their employees on compulsory leave.
Expect those economies like tourism, which have received a major blow, to be able to bounce back once we reopen the economy.
The manufacturing sector was among the leading employer in the private sector in 2019, accounting for 15% of the jobs, but it's projected to yield less jobs in 2020, even as some factories opt to manufacturing PPEs as a mitigation strategy.
Every challenge has own opportunities. If you look at what's happening now, Kenyan industries are now working on producing the PPEs. The digital platform is highly benefiting from the stay-at-home, recommendation. A lot of these things are happening, and there are now different opportunities and avenues for business and employment to be created, to be sustained, to mitigate against areas that there are serious adverse effects.
The building and construction sector took a 5% dip in 2019, mainly due to the completion of construction of phase 1 of the SGR project, with the downward trend expected to continue as the coronavirus continues to spread. Ben Troy Njue reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And now to some good news in the tech field. Poor network connectivity across Kenya will by next month be a thing of the past after Google Loon internet balloons are fully deployed. Speaking to KBC Channel 1 ICT Principal Secretary Dr. Jerome Ochieng says the Loon internet balloons will benefit areas that had previously been without mobile network coverage, such as those that are commercially non-viable, mountainous regions, or those regions with high insecurity cases.
President Uhuru Kenyatta last month announced that the government had approved Google Loon services in Kenya to enable those in remote areas access internet services.
This intervention will enable Kenya to retain her competitive advantage in ICT and innovation in the midst of the current crisis, while at the same time laying foundations for greater expansion once the current health challenge.
Speaking to KBC Channel 1, ICT Principal Secretary Dr. Jerome Ochieng said in the next 2 weeks, Google Loon internet balloons will be fully airborne in Kenya, ushering 100% internet connectivity across the country.
We see ourselves being in the next 2 to 3 weeks' time, actually being able to roll out the first Loon project in the country, and this will really help us have the 100% coverage. So very soon, give ourselves 2 to 3 weeks, and we should be able to resolve this issue.
The balloons were launched in Nakuru and have since covered the counties of Nairobi, Machakos, Kiambu, Kajiado, Garissa, and Tana River. Dr. Cheng says the internet balloons will overcome challenges that have seen some areas not have mobile network coverage, such as mountainous terrain, commercially non-viable areas, and insecurity.
The fact that we are having them up the sky is an advantage in the sense that we should be able now to go beyond the limitation of base stations on the ground, because you have some areas whereby there is interference because of the existence of a mountain. There is interference because you cannot put a base station in an area, especially with the problem we are having in northern part of the country, issues relating to security and things like that.
Nairobi, Nyeri, and Nakuru will offer support to the internet balloon access to an internet signal. This comes at a time when Kenya is mulling over the rollout of a 5G network.
As a country, we are at the test stage. We are actually at the pilot stage, and a number of mobile network operators are coming in to do their pilot. So we have not really rolled out, but we are at the pilot stage.
So far, 7 firms are carrying out trials on the 5G network. Regina Manyara-Gitao reporting for Channel 1 Business.
the Juakari operators and others, our saloonists, our mamboga, our barbers. Our economy to a large extent depends on you. We cannot allow Kenyans to die because of non-distancing in any sector. So those of you who are carrying out the hair-cutting business in barbershops, in saloons, I am appealing to you today. Ensure that social distancing, fumigation of your working places, masks are used at all times. Just assume that everybody is positive.